And so here's a very interesting conversation. Last time I uploaded a story video about the experience that Wal Reichard claimed to have experienced. He claims that during one of his expeditions to Antarctica, he saw a ginormous metropolis that dwarfs the size of Manhattan, that was seemingly above what can only be described as an ice wall. And he was forced to sign non-disclosure papers by military officers in the station that he worked for until he revealed what he had experienced way back in, I believe it was in the 90s, when he was already 76 or 78 years old. And after that, he was unfortunately confined to a mental asylum or a mental hospital until the day he died, which was in the year 2003, when he was 93 years old. And so it's a very interesting story, but we have more testimonies of what could possibly exist beyond the ice barriers that we could call the ice wall or the shoreline. If you are a flat earther, you're already probably aware of the ice wall or the shoreline that is containing all of the water within our pond or whatever you would like to call it. And so a lot of people assume that, well, if the earth is flat, there's probably an edge. And is that edge Antarctica? Sure, it could possibly be Antarctica. Maybe we do live under some sort of glass or crystalline dome firmament, in which things like star trails, for example, would definitely reflect off of as they continue their rotations and revolutions above us. And so that would definitely explain why during these long time-lapse videos and recordings of the stars, we get what looks like star trails or light trails that kind of curve into circles. Now, regardless of whatever's above us and whatever flat Earth model we like to assume, many flat earthers would probably assume that there is more land outside of Antarctica. And we have some testimonial evidence to show that that might be the case. So here's another interesting story. Whether or not this is literally true or it's just fictitious, I don't know. I'll leave that to the viewer to decide. I can't prove anything. These are just stories, but pretty much everything is a story. So let's read this story and let's see what we can conclude from it. So according to this story, there is a city that is being protected by an energy dome, right? So not like a real physical dome necessarily, but an energy dome in Antarctica. These were revelations from a military pilot by the name of Edward way back in 2006. So let me read to you guys what the article says. Do you think no one flies to Antarctica? Well, officially, yeah, there are no civilian or commercial flights, but there are military and government flights to Antarctica. What is the purpose of these visits to a frozen wasteland by prominent politicians, heads of military departments, etc.? There is no answer to this question. The matter is very murky, secretive, and shrouded in secrecy. In 2006, a man named Edward gave an interview to some journalist. He claimed to be the pilot of a plane that repeatedly flew from the United States to Antarctica. I should mention right away that this story was quickly refuted by the authorities, who stated that Edward had never any experience with aviation, or otherwise he wouldn't have told a ridiculous story. So basically, they're kind of claiming that this guy Edward doesn't really have anything to do with aviation or being a flight pilot. But I obviously question that, since if that were the case, I mean, I don't know why he would tell this ridiculous story either way. But here's the story. So his words in many circles were accepted as truth, but I leave it up to you to decide whether to believe him or not. So let's see what the aviation flight pilot Edwards said back in 2006. He said, quote, in Antarctica, there's an area that doesn't appear on maps. It's a kind of oasis in the middle of a frozen desert. It's indistinguishable from satellites. It's camouflaged by the snowy landscape. But beneath the dome that camouflages, there's a thriving city. There's a large-scale climate control system. Thanks to it, the temperature hovers around 26 degrees Celsius all year round. Interesting. What I saw was only a small part of it. Unfortunately, I'm a flight attendant and didn't have the chance to explore the surroundings. Only during the approach to landing did I see structures unlike any other structure. They were cone-shaped, enormous, and covered in white plates. I saw a lake there, mountains cleared of snow, hundreds of buildings, roads, and many flying cars. All of this already in place there. My opinion is that in Antarctica lives, if not a shadow government, then someone very powerful on the scale of our civilization, or if not more advanced. We have always been greeted by creatures completely dressed in costumes. No hands, no faces, nothing. The suits are high tech. I have seen holograms appear in their palms and a large number of devices to monitor our cargo. Scanners that allow us to know in seconds if everything is as agreed, and so on. One day, there was a commotion caused by two rats that somehow got on board the plane. It's very heavily guarded. You can't disturb the biosphere that has formed there. I don't know if people live there. I was very surprised when one of these flights, after landing, we felt weightless for a while. I think it had something to do with the dome. It's a technology that protects us from outside influences. I had the impression that Antarctica was home to very powerful creatures, perhaps not even creatures from Earth. What are the chances that this entire enormous project is designed to cover it up? It's most likely that the reason is something else. Living conditions on Earth are unsustainable for these creatures, so they use their technology to settle here. In return, they give people some knowledge. Perhaps they control world events. Perhaps they influence technological development. In total, I made about 5 stories a year for 16 years. I'm sorry, sororities for 16 years. I have no idea what kind of cargo we took to Antarctica or what kind we took back. Several times our cargo plane delivered valuable cargo to the United States to close military installations. Once my supervisor came into the cockpit and said he would be directly supervising my actions during the flight. He said that the day's cargo was worth more than everything I had ever seen put together. I joked then that it must be a time machine or a facility for eternal life. He gave me a very stern look, and I had to shut up. After I retired, I never heard anything like it again, probably because all the information is tracked and kept out of public domain. I know at least 6 other pilots who flew planes similar to mine. So, flights to Antarctica do happen, albeit in strict secrecy. This was Edward's interview, and of course, it was quickly criticized. Um, and we don't really know much about Edwards, but he, like I said, this man Edward claims to be a military pilot, and this is the testimony he gave: revelations of a military pilot and flight attendant Edward back in 2006 about what he claims exists on the other side of our shoreline, which is Antarctica. So very interesting stuff. I hope you guys can read through the article and come up with your own conclusions. I'll link it in the description below. And that's it. Thank you for listening.